It's Tuesday, folks, and we're talking tanking. Welcome to another episode of Hornets Daily, your one-stop shop for all things Charlotte Hornets. As always, we're presented by the good people over at FanArc, and I'm your host, Vance Ballard, but you know by now, you can call me VB. I want to thank everybody for joining today, watching along with us. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment down in the comments section. Chat's starting to fill up, and I'm seeing a lot of this team should tank again. This should be another tanking season coming from the chat. Seeing that quite a few times. There's some writers and some experts who tend to agree. We'll talk about that here on the show today. The fan base in Charlotte is starting to get a little bit of love. It's starting to come out just how dedicated and diehard and passionate this fan base is. One Sports Illustrated writer discussed what this fan base deserves and the city as well. We'll talk about that on the show today. A little bit different than the tanking season. Do the Hornets have all the ingredients necessary for a playoff recipe right now? There's one writer out there that gives his key three pieces that the Hornets are going to have to follow to make the playoffs this season. And we've talked a lot about Moussa Diabate, about what his role could be as the starting center, which has allowed for another big man in Charlotte to kind of go under the radar the last couple weeks. We'll discuss Tjan Salon and what impact he could have on the Hornets' big man position as well. Quite a few things on the docket. Got some good buzz going around the Queen City today. And if you know anything about me here on the show, I don't do beating around the bush. We like to dive right into the program. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We mentioned in the comments section, I've seen a lot of you guys down in the chat talking about this team should tank again. This should be another tank season. Continue to build for towards next year's draft and get some more another good high draft pick, another lottery pick out of that. And Tim Bontemps and Kevin Pelton of ESPN seem to be in agreement with a lot of the people in the chat. They released their preseason NBA tiers and have Charlotte, interestingly, in what has been titled the all-in on draft positioning tier. Now, just that title alone would lead you to believe they think that the Hornets are going to be tanking this season, especially since they're joined in that tier by the Nets, the Jazz, and the Wizards. Those four teams make up four of the worst six teams in the NBA last year. They're also the bottom four teams in terms of preseason win totals that have been released by Las Vegas. Now, both Bontemps and Pelton prefaced this by saying the Hornets were set up to be the most competitive team out of this group, especially on paper. They have the most promise surrounding their young core: Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges. The additions of the draft picks Con Knippel, Liam McNeely, Sion James, Ryan Kalkbrenner brings a lot of promise, along with the acquisition of Spencer Dinwiddie and Colin Sexton as well. They called the Hornets the closest of any of these teams to being actually a season away. We know how popular that saying is, how common that can be, but the Hornets actually seem to have some truth behind it. It does seem like they might actually just be that one season away, according to Pelton and Bontemps. The question that I have based on all of this, I know that the tier is what it is. The Hornets aren't going to be a world-beating team by any means, but I think the question I have is, are they going to be too good to tank? I think the answer to that is yes. I think the roster, the pieces on paper anyway, are just too good, especially in what's going to be a beaten-down thrift shop version of the Eastern Conference this year, and that seems to be where some of the disconnect is between the fan base and the experts, the insiders, the writers, whatever you want to call them. Seems to be a little bit of disconnect there in terms of how this season is going to or should go for the Hornets. The fan base, very optimistic for the first time in a long time, and I think rightfully so. Again, on paper, this Hornets team is assembled to be one of the better ones we've seen in quite some time. The future looks very bright, and the culture is changing here in Charlotte, but I do still think that right now this team is a little bit too good on paper to tank, to get a lottery pick. I think that they're more than capable of making the play-in game, even the playoffs as a whole here in the Eastern Conference this year, just because of how beaten down it is and adding veterans like Spencer Dinwiddie, Colin Sexton, even the addition of Pat Connaughton, who we know may not be on the roster, but if he is another veteran voice, a former NBA champion, someone who knows how to win in this league and has proven his abilities when he's on the court, Dinwiddie and Sexton also fall in that last category as well. We know what we're going to get out of them. They make a team better, especially on offense, which is somewhere this Hornets team desperately needed help last season. So that, again, I think the experts and the writers are looking at it from a position of the Hornets don't have what it takes on the inside. I think the fan base is optimistic about the improvements that have been made on offense, and that's where some of the disconnect comes from. That's where the optimism from the fans leads, and that's where the lack of optimism, I guess, comes from in the writers. Now, speaking of the fans, we know exactly how diehard, how passionate this fan base is, especially if you're someone watching this program. You're probably a member of the fan base, so you fully understand not exactly how important the Charlotte Hornets are to the state of North Carolina, not just the Hornets, but basketball as a whole, the impact that sport has on this state. And Owen O'Connor of Hornets SI, he reflected on his first season covering the Hornets, the Boston native, talked about his first full NBA season spent in Charlotte. He talked at length about the environment that is a Hornets home game. He said it's a packed house, even for a bad team, despite only having 19 wins. He said night in and night out, it was nothing to go inside the Spectrum Center on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and find a near playoff level environment. He recalled specifically how a meaningless game in February against the Spurs had no playoff implications, no future impact, but he said the environment, the fan base, the building was as loud as some actual playoff games that he's been to. Again, that just speaks volumes to what this team means, how diehard these fans are, and what the sport of basketball means in North Carolina as a whole. This fan base has been yearning for success for a very long time now, and is desperate for a quality basketball team in Charlotte. Back in April, if you remember, in his exit interview, Taj Gibson called Charlotte a gold mine, and he went on to rave about the fan base, about the environment inside of Charlotte, inside the Spectrum Center during home games. He even said in reference to that environment, he said, it's crazy now, but, quote, if we won more, forget about it, said Gibson in regards, again, to the already buzzing environment that is the Spectrum Center. Think about this. Just look at the reaction to the Summer League Championship that the fan base has had. A pop-up shop for the release of the Summer League Championship shirts had a line around the block and was sold out almost instantly when they opened up. It just goes to show further that this fan base is not used to celebrating victories, as a Summer League Championship brought about this much excitement, but they're also clamoring, they're yearning, their desire for a successful basketball team is strong in the fan base. The fan base is dedicated, diehard, and passionate, and O'Connor believes that this fan base truly deserves a playoff basketball team. Obviously, I would be inclined to agree. Again, they haven't gone anywhere. This fan base, much as a member of the fan base, I feel like I'm included in this, and you guys are as well. We've been here through the downs, through these small ups that were the Kemba Walker years. But since 2017, 29 of the 30 fan bases in the NBA have gotten the excitement of watching their team play in the playoffs. Only us here in Charlotte have not. Since 2017, the only franchise not to make the postseason is the Charlotte Hornets. The pieces are starting to fall into place, though. Again, I mentioned the core of Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges. If we can keep those guys healthy, in addition to Con Knipple, Sion James, Liam McNeely, Ryan Kalkbrenner, the additions of Colin Sexton, Spencer Dinwiddie, can the big guys develop into true NBA big men? If all of those things, they're starting to fall into place, things are trending upward. This team is trying to change their reputation and get out of that bottom tier, that all-in on draft positioning tier from experts and from insiders, and make and become a playoff roster, a playoff team. That's what these fans are desperate for, and selfishly, I think we deserve that real reason. It's been a long time. Owen O'Connor agrees with me, and I think that the fan base is desperate and more than deserving of a good quality team. I think Charles Lee and Jeff Peterson and the rest of the organization, coaching staff, front office, I think they're doing all the right things. We're trending in the right direction. They're trying to give this fan base what they deserve, and that too is nice to see. Speaking of giving the fan base what they deserve and the acquisitions and the all of this, that, and the other, do the Hornets have the correct, quote, ingredients to make for the playoff recipe? Excitement about the season is always a very good thing. As I mentioned, the fan base is very optimistic. But a genuine question to ask is that excitement warranted, or is it more just optimism and hope and desire that the team will be good amongst all these additions and the new guys that are coming into town? Also of Sports Illustrated, Ryan Stano thinks that the Hornets have at least 3 things they need to do to make the playoffs. He thinks that this could be a playoff-ready team, but the ingredients for his version of the recipe go like this. He thinks, obviously, LaMelo Ball can't get hurt. He's got to be available. That's a clear one. Brandon Miller has to shoot greater than 41% from the field. And stop me if you've heard this before, the Hornets have to make a move at center. Now, obviously, that first piece there can't necessarily be controlled. We know about the problems, the questions, the concerns with LaMelo's health. We know he's only played 107 of the possible 246 games in the last 3 years. So his availability is always in question, is a major concern. But if he's on the floor, this team is much more successful. He's a superstar. We know what he's capable of when he's on the floor. And the team is much better when LaMelo is available. Again, we know we've come to expect almost and anticipate him going out, missing at least some period of time. We just have to hope that it's not an extended period and that he can stay healthy and continue to improve his game. And now he should have a lot better chance to do that. He should have a lot more opportunities to improve his game with the additions of the playmakers, the shooters that have been added to this team. Now, we know LaMelo is a wizard when it comes to passing the ball, but this time those passes should be caught, and on the other end of them should be shot makers, which should drastically improve his numbers and his efficiency, which has been a key knock on his game, is his inefficiency. Now, with the added playmakers, with the added shooting, those numbers should go up as well. The central focus, obviously, of this team is going to be keeping him healthy, keeping him on the floor. The guard room, as we know, is very, very full, but there's no one in that room that I think can take the place of LaMelo Ball, can do what he does and bring to the table what he brings. Now, there are plenty of pieces in there that can fill in and play that role if he has to miss a couple games, or if he's taking a break for some rest or whatever that may be. There's plenty of guys that can step in and do that. But in terms of a total replacement, I don't think the guard room has one for LaMelo Ball, and this team needs to go as he goes, which starts with him being on the floor. Now, the second one I find to be very interesting, because we yet again have another expert telling us what Brandon Miller has to do or what he can't do for this team to be successful. If you remember, Zach Lowe went last week on his podcast and said that the Hornets are going nowhere anytime soon. He doesn't see them having any level of success, no promise, no light at the end of the tunnel if Brandon Miller can't be an all-star. Now, I don't think necessarily Lowe meant that he has to literally be in the all-star game, be voted an all-star each and every year, but he has to play at that level. His game has to be at the point of all-star ability. He has to be compared to the other guys that are making the all-star team and be that key piece for the Hornets. Staying healthy, in my opinion, is equally, if not more important than Brandon Miller's shooting percentage. We know he just played in 27 games last year, so keeping him on the floor is going to be vital for the Hornets this year as well. I think, again, that's more important than his shooting percentage, just solely because of the additions that the Hornets have made. If Brandon Miller is not able to shoot 41, 42, 43% from the floor, and he does go back to the 40% he shot last year, maybe even an off year, he shoots 39, 38%, I don't think that's going to kill the Hornets just because of the offensive moves that they have made. I don't think Miller has the same pressure on him to be the go-to guy, the only shot maker on the floor, the guy catching these passes from LaMelo and hitting the shots afterwards. I'm not sure that Brandon Miller has all of that pressure on him anymore because of guys like Colin Sexton, like Spencer Dinwiddie, Con Knipple, Liam McNeely, Tjan James, all catch and shoot guys. Colin Sexton, we know he averages 18 points per game for his career. We know he can get his own shot when necessary. He can play with the ball in his hands. So it's not just on Brandon Miller to take and make every one of his shots. The roster allows now for an off night from Brandon Miller or even from LaMelo Ball. So I don't think he has to shoot a crazy number. I'm not saying 41% is a crazy number, but I don't think you even have to put a cap on it at 41% to where if he's not over that, the Hornets won't be very good. I'm not sure that that's the situation anymore. I think Jeff Peterson and the rest of the front office have done a good job working around that and making sure that's not the situation as well. Now, again, you can stop me if you've heard this one before. The third piece of Stano's recipe ingredients is that the Hornets can't leave the center position untouched. Again, here we are with another writer, insider, expert, call him what you want, saying that the Hornets have to make a move at the big man position. That's all anyone's been able to talk about the last couple weeks. We've talked about it ad nauseum here on the program. Rumors continue to fly about what the Hornets could possibly do. Back in the news now is the potential of the Hornets moving a package or a group of players that would send them Nick Claxton from the Nets. That's back on the internet. This time I see them sending LaMelo Ball away, getting Nick Claxton and 3 first-round picks in return for that. I'm not sure if that's worth it. I still think getting rid of LaMelo Ball, even for that haul, for 3 first-round picks and a starting center, I'm not sure. I still think that might be too steep of an asking price just because I don't think Nick Claxton is a center of the future. I think he's a starter right now for sure. If he was on the Hornets roster, he'd be the starting center, but I'm not sure 3, 4, 5 years down the line if he's still the go-to guy. So I'm not sure. I don't think that giving up a superstar, a franchise cornerstone, someone you can build a team around like LaMelo Ball, even for 3 first-round picks and Nick Claxton, I still think that might be a little bit too steep of an asking price. But I digress. As we've mentioned on the show, it's starting to seem like this team does not agree with all these experts that say they need to make a move at the center position. We talked about that last week as well. It seems like they're becoming more and more comfortable with the abilities of the guys they have in the paint right now, with the Kalkbrenners, with the Dibates, with Mason Plumlee, and someone we'll talk about here in just a few minutes, even Tjan Salon as well. With the offensive firepower that has currently been added, if those 3 guys that I just mentioned that are listed as true centers, if they can be simply just competent, then I think playoff basketball is more than possible in the Queen City. If we can, I know that the concern mainly from these experts, the reason that all this get a center, make a move for a center talk is coming is because none of these guys are the traditional play 30 minutes a night at that center position in the NBA. But if you can find a way for Kalkbrenner, Dubate, and Plumlee to split the minutes and utilize them productively that way, which I think the Hornets seem to feel like they're going to be able to do, then that to me is just as productive as going out and getting that 30-minute guy and bringing somebody else in, making another move, whether it be for the short term or the long term. I still think what the Hornets have in-house right now, I've started to talk myself into it personally. I think they have all of the pieces necessary to at least make some noise, be in the play-in game, make the playoffs this year, and continue to build towards that future, allowing 4 guys like Musa and Ryan Kalkbrenner to continue to develop. Another player we've seen continue to develop, we know that's we've seen develop, and we know that's going to have to continue to do so, is Tjan Salon. Now, the last couple weeks, the focus has been on Musa. All throughout the NBA world, we've talked at length about him here on this show. With that, and I think that might be a good thing for Tjan Salon. It's kind of allowed him to slide under the radar, go a little bit unnoticed, a guy we know is going to have a lot of pressure, a lot of eyeballs on him come preseason, training camp, regular season, all of those things. We know the conversations about Salon are going to pick up right then. So I think it's a good thing right now here in the kind of middle part of the summer that Salon is being allowed to just go and develop and do his own thing kind of quietly, not under the scrutiny of the media, of the oh, is he good enough? Oh, this was the sixth pick. What's he going to do? No, we knew when he was the sixth pick, he was a developmental piece. It was taken, I don't like saying he was a flyer because he's too good for that, but he was raw when Salon was taken. We knew here as part of the fan base that it would require some time and development for Salon to be NBA ready to fully get everything he can out of his talent and abilities. Now, again, I think that he has taken the right steps to do that. We saw him out in Vegas prove that he has drastically improved his game this summer and this offseason, averaging double figures in the games he did play in the summer league, not only in points but rebounds as well. So Salon definitely taking the right steps, making all the right moves in his game to become an NBA-ready big man. Now, realistically, when I say big man, not just Salon, I've seen it down from you guys in the chat. I'm aware that him and Musa are both probably true fours and would be a little bit undersized at the 5 position. But can they take the next step? Can they develop into 5s is the big question. And we know that the former number 6 pick, he struggled last year. Again, we knew that was going to be more of a development year. But can he continue to do so? Can he make his presence felt in the paint? Can he earn some productive minutes at the 5 position? Maybe even stepping in to being a starter as well. We do know what his growth would mean for this team, how it would help this team. If he's able to continue to take that leap, if he's able to come into the regular season and average close to the numbers he did in the summer league, then that would go a long way for the Hornets, doing what we've talked about several times today and making the playoffs, becoming a more competitive team in the East. If Salon can take that next step, if he can continue to work to develop his offensive game, crashing the glass, becoming a little stronger inside in the paint, and a little bit more dominant. Now, I'm not saying any of this to say that we're going to see Tjan starting at the 5 come opening night. I think he'll be coming off the bench playing the 4 position, but he could eventually work himself into that role if he continues to develop his game. Again, we know he is a former top 10 pick, number 6 overall. He was taken he was taken at that spot for a reason. Someone saw something somewhere in his game that led them to believe he could be an important future piece for the Hornets, and as we know, he's worked very hard this offseason. We've mentioned it several times. He did not go back home to France, stayed here locally in the Charlotte area to continue to work on his game, to continue to develop each and every day. His offensive game has looked better, both in workouts, in practice, and during summer league. He's added a nice little turnaround jump shot to his game. He hit a couple of those out in Vegas, and he seems to be putting more priority and more focus on crashing the glass, grabbing rebounds. Everything Tjan's doing seems like he is more than ready for all of the pressure that's going to be on him, all of the eyeballs that are going to be watching him. He seems ready to face the fire of being a former number 6 pick in his second year. He too knows he was a developmental pick, so now it's his turn to show that and provide important minutes for this team, whether it be starting at that 5 position or coming off the bench. Him, along with the rest of this roster, if they can all develop, if they can all do what we expect them to do here in Charlotte, if things can go the way we think they are, then I think basketball in and around April in the Queen City is very, very possible. A lot of excitement for that and optimism coming out of this fan base. The writers are telling you why. The writers are telling you what pieces are going to be needed, and I'll be here as they continue to do so to bring you all of the information on each and every day's episode of Hornets Daily. That's going to do it for today's show, folks. As always, thanks so much for watching along. If you haven't, be sure to go down and smash that subscribe button. Leave a like and a comment down in the comment section. Tell me what you think about some of the stuff we've talked about today. Do you guys feel that this fan base deserves a playoff series, a playoff win, some sort of success somehow? We've been here for a long time. What do you guys think about Salon's development? Please be sure to leave a comment down in the comment section. As always, thanks for watching. We'll catch you tomorrow right here on Hornets.